Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by two people who I know I'm going to have some very interesting conversations about the first film for Bollywood August with. I'm talking about Pulp Serenade's Cullen Gallagher.
Howdy.
And you know him as the man who wrote Under Siege 2, and a real mensch, as I like to put it, the one and only Richard Hatem.
Ooh, thank you, Chris. I'm sitting here looking at pulpserenade.com. You guys should all check it out. This is fucking amazing.
Look at this, Cullen. Free advertising.
Free. I'm waiting for the bill.
Yeah, right.
I got my Venmo account open right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm looking at a 1948 Dashiell Hammett's Nightmare Town. Ooh, I gotta get me a copy of that with a map on the back cover
and illustrations inside. So you don't even have to look at the great words.
Oh, shit.
Richard is just giving you every single bit of free publicity.
I'm getting on the old book search website. Anyway, it's great. Hey, Chris, great to be back.
Yeah, and well, technically, according to the way this played out, you were actually on the last episode when we were talking about Under Siege 2, just not in the capacity you are now. So, 2 weeks in a row.
We were not talking about Under Siege 2?
I showed up assuming we were talking about Under Siege 2. No, we are not talking about Under Siege 2. We are talking about... unless Richard wants to talk about it.
It seems like a damn waste of time if we're not talking about Under Siege 2, but okay.
Yeah, right. No, we're actually kicking off Bollywood August with a look at what is widely considered to be the top Indian film of all time. It is in the top 50 films... or Best Films of 50 Years from the 50th Filmfare Awards. The BFI ranked it number 1 in top 10 Indian films of all time. It is considered to be a classic in the Bollywood genre. We are talking about 1975's action-adventure curry western, Sholay.
Kitne aadmi the? Sardar? 2 आदमी थे।
ठाकुर साहब, शायद ही कोई ऐसा जेल हो जिसमें ये दोनों ना गए हों। ये वीरू है और ये जयदेव। दोनों के दोनों पक्के बदमाश, 1 नंबर के चोर, छठे हुए गुंडे हैं।
मुझे तो सब पुलिस वालों की सूरतें एक जैसी लगती हैं।
मुझे गब्बर चाहिए। जिंदा। गब्बर सिंह? वो मशहूर डाकू?
जब बच्चा रात को रोता है तो माँ कहती है बेटे सो जा, सो जा नहीं तो गब्बर सिंह आ जाएगा।
हाँ वही। मुझे सिर्फ गब्बर चाहिए।
जो डर गया समझो मर गया।
कोई पुरानी दुश्मनी?
ये पूछना तुम्हारा काम नहीं। लोहा गर्म है, मार दो हथौड़ा।
साहब अभी भी वक्त है, सोच लीजिए।
Sholay!
What's the villain's name? Gabbar Singh! God damn, Gabbar Singh, man. So...
Oh, Gabbar. Come on, you're giving me nightmares.
Gabbar Singh. So, Sholay is directed by Ramesh Sippy, produced by G.P. Sippy. It's written by Salim Javed, which is the writing duo of Salim Khan and Javed Akhtar. It stars Dharmendra, Amitabh Bachchan, who this film would vault Amitabh Bachchan to the superstar status that he has today. He is widely considered to be one of, if not the greatest Indian living actor at the moment. A bunch of other really well-known actors as well. Sanjeev Kumar, Hema Malani, Jaya Barudi, and obviously we could not sleep on Amjad Khan, who plays the villain of the film, who is, according to some, and I would believe it, the Indian equivalent of Darth Vader, Gabbar Singh. So the film follows Dharmendra and Amitabh Bachchan as two thieves who were tasked by a previous policeman to come to his town and help rid him of what are equivalents of Indian banditos, played by Gabbar Singh. It is a Indian Western, a curry Western, as it was known at the time. It's also very similar to some samurai cinema, such as Seven Samurai. So, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that neither one of you had seen the film before. So, Cullen, what did you think of your first watch of Sholay?
I absolutely loved it. It's the longest movie I've seen in probably over a decade, and my girlfriend did not have to pinch me to keep me awake through the movie. I watched it twice, I loved it, and it's so great it does not even need Burt Reynolds in it to be great.
It would be kind of weird if Burt Reynolds was in it. He would stick out like a sore thumb, but yeah, I mean... You're not wrong. Richard, what about you? Richard, the harsh critic, Mr. Richard Hatem, what did you think of your first watching of Sholay?
Well, I liked it very much also. I didn't, I'm not sure it garners my highest rating. I have a couple of thoughts about it, but I did enjoy it very much, and I enjoyed the performances, and there were more jewels in this basket than there were lumps of coal, for sure.
Yeah, obviously this is my first time seeing it. I have a little background for myself. I have been to India. I went to India right before I turned 21. And I'm a huge fan of the country, the culture. It helps. I grew up where I grew up in Texas. Was becoming and is now at the time has a very heavy Southeast Asian and Indian population coming over and kind of doing tech jobs and doctors and stuff in the North Texas area. So I grew up around and went to high school with a lot of kids that spoke Hindi, that spoke Telugu. So.
And you went to India for a Mormon missionary?
Yeah, no, actually, see, here's the funny thing. I'm one of those people who went to India to go to India, not to try to convert people. I went to India. I went to India for vacation and met some friends over there, and it's a vacation that is.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
It's very important to me, but at the same time, I was insanely respectful and still am of the culture. So, getting to sit and watch the highest grossing Indian film ever and the highest grossing Indian film of all time per inflation even, I was kind of surprised I had never seen it. It wasn't on the plane when I was going over to India. One of the films that we're going to be talking about later in the month, Enthuran, or Robo as it's known in the States, was on the flight when I went out there. But sitting down to watch this, I agree with Richard. It's an interesting film. It's not at all what I was expecting. And there are some things that I have an issue with, and we'll get to what those issues are, and also why some of the things are the way that they are, especially the ending of the film was changed due to censors at the time and the kind of Indian Film Board saying you can't do this. Let's get right into it. So the film is essentially an Indian Western.
Yeah. Which was which I'm not going to say was my biggest complaint, but in a weird way kind of was. Not in that it was not executed, very well, and not to say that it did not take advantage of the tropes of the genre and wring every last bit out of them. But personally, because I am very unfamiliar with Bollywood movies and hadn't ever seen one, in a weird way, I was a little bit disappointed that the people were wearing very, for the most part, Western style wardrobe, and that it was so much of a Western. And I was sort of like, I was expecting to see a movie that felt far more exotic in terms of what India is, and was going to tell me a story according to a mythology that I was not already familiar with, or sort of a filmic language or a mythic language that I wasn't already well versed in.
I actually thought I loved all the Western stuff because I'm a huge fan of the genre. So to me, it was really exciting to see how they took elements from Stagecoach and Wild Bunch and Butch Cassidy and Once Upon a Time in the West and sort of remixed all of these little parts in different ways.
And Seven Samurai.
Oh, definitely lots of Seven Samurai.
Yeah, it's the film's plot, if you boil it down to the basics, really is that you could say there were two no-name characters, but in this film they have names. Two thieves come to a town and help the town turn around. It's being strong-armed by the villain. It's a setup as old as time. I mean, that's the setup of so many westerns, so many samurai films, which are the precursors to westerns, as it were. But yeah, it's interesting because similarly to you, Richard, this is not the first Bollywood film I've seen, but it is the first Bollywood film I've seen that isn't about contemporary Indian culture. A lot of the other Bollywood films that I've seen are about things taking place in contemporary India as opposed to taking place in, India of the 70s or, even earlier. Because, I can't really tell when this film is set, but...
Yeah, well, there was trains, but there were no cars. And there were like horse trolleys. I mean, it was a Western, In my mind, I kept thinking, oh, it's like Three Amigos.
Kind of.
Only because Three Amigos is the extremely derivative, modern version. But I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, these are the guys. There's the village. There's El Guapo. All right, I get it.
Yeah, but El Guapo in Three Amigos doesn't cut off one of the characters' arms. Which, I mean, that's the thing about this movie, and that's the thing that I think a lot of Western audiences who have never seen a film like a Bollywood film or a masala film, as they're normally known as, a masala film being Indian cinema that mixes action and comedy and romance. I mean, look, this film
and music.
And music. Obviously, this film. I mean, not to go to the stereotype of a Bollywood film, but this is a Western that does have 3 musical acts in it, and pretty extended musical acts as well.
Catchy songs.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked it. I want to get the soundtrack. So one of the things, this might be jumping ahead too much, but when I'm watching this, it immediately jumped out to me that the music we're hearing was not the original music from the film. Because all the synthesizers are like much more modern, at least the version that I saw on Amazon Prime. And it's because when the grandson of the producer went to re-release this in 3D about 10 years ago, a lot of the original music elements had been destroyed in a fire in London. So they had to, cobble together bits from existing prints. You figure out how to take out, and isolate the singing tracks, and then they re-recorded all the music.
And you can kind of
I would love to hear this. Yeah, and I would love to, I don't know if there's like a VHS, like bootleg of the original print with the soundtrack that exists. I mean, I would love to see a 35 print of this, but it's COVID, so that's not going to happen.
Among other things not happening.
Chris, what version did we, I saw it on your server. What did I see? Did I see the same version?
I'm assuming, Cullen, the one that you watch is the 3D one as well.
Yes, but I didn't have 3D glasses.
Well, I didn't have 3D glasses either, but we all watched the 3D re-release of the film that came out.
But there was nothing about it that seemed like out of focus or dark. I mean, 3D typically has like, if you're not watching it with glasses, it kind of has a different look, but I didn't notice that. Am I nuts?
No, I think we definitely saw the same thing, and I don't think you're nuts. This must be like the 2D version of it, but at least the version that I saw, you could see where they had digitally added like bullets coming out the camera or like logs.
The scene that stuck out to me is when Thakur shoots Jai and Veeru's handcuffs off, and you see the bullet like fly at the screen. It's so whack and completely out of place, and it's just like, okay, well, here's the 3D. Here it is, and it's almost the 3D seems. I don't know if you noticed this too, Cullen. It seems that the 3D is almost completely localized to just the train sequence at the beginning.
There's a couple later on, but yeah, it's heavier at the beginning.
Yeah. Which, the train sequence at the beginning of the film, I mean, Jesus.
I love that.
Beyond impressive for so many reasons.
As the author of Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, I must give my props to this train sequence.
Wow. That's, horrifying yet helpful at the same time.
Yeah, I thought it was, I actually was jealous.
It's really well done, and it's really well shot, and it's really well framed, and you've got a lot of, like, moving pieces going on, and you can feel right before they cut to that flashback, it's like they're setting it up, and they're talking about it, and Thakur is talking about it, and then you're like, is he just going to talk about it, or are we going to see it happen? And I was really glad, and again, that's, seems to be a little bit of a trope with Bollywood films, is they talk about a flashback, and then they show you what happens.
When you know the movie is 3 hours and 15 minutes long, I was...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Not surprised when we went to the flashback.
Speaking of the time, I actually thought the pacing was actually quite good for a movie that's that long. I'm not very familiar with Bollywood cinema, but I thought it kept having interesting things to, keep you going in the story, because they don't really get to what's happening until I don't think the duo Jai and Veeru, they don't meet the warden for 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Their backstory leading up to that, that's 40 minutes. That's a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah, and you have the jailer, who is very clearly...
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing about Bollywood that I think throws American audiences for a loop, is Bollywood movies have so much going on. By the end of the film, you know as much as you're ever going to know about these characters.
You mean the jailer who's the Charlie Chaplin Great Dictator?
Yeah. I mean, everything.
He's even got the globe.
Now, is that a famous comedian, a famous contemporary comedian in Indian
He's
cinema?
just another really famous Indian actor who is just known by his... Because that's the thing. A lot of Indian actors are known by just one name. So you have Asrani. Asrani is the one who plays the jailer. Then you have Dharmendra, who plays Veeru in the film. Amitabh Bachchan is just known as Amitabh. So, I mean, you've got what is considered to be at the time and still is some of the biggest names in Indian cinema coming together. So, yeah, Asrani, who plays the jailer, is a very well-known Indian actor. It seems like they were getting everybody in on the action with this film, which kind of makes sense in a way as well, because, again, this is considered... If the BBC and others are to be believed, which again, they're Western entertainment news writing about Indian Bollywood cinema, this is equivalent to India as Star Wars is to, America. That's how impactful this film was on filmmaking for the country.
What's interesting about it, though, is that it's so clearly based on Western films that I wonder... Again, not knowing anything about Bollywood, are there a whole slew of Bollywood films that are okay, so after then a decade, in other words, is there a Bollywood version of, The Godfather, or to be more specific, sort of The Godfather plus a handful of Martin Scorsese movies, and at a certain point did it reach a critical mass and Bollywood said, okay, now we are going to do our organized crime, quote unquote, mafia movie that if a Western audience saw it, they'd go, oh, there's some Godfather, there is some, Goodfellas. I mean, is that kind of the way it goes?
Well, I mean, it's like any other, because Bollywood is an industry into itself. I mean, these industries don't exist in a vacuum. I mean, they're seeing Hong Kong crime films, they're seeing American gangster films, they're seeing all these different kinds of films, and they're copying from them and doing something with it. I mean, while this film is a Western, I think the three of us can agree, while it is a Western, it shares a lot of traits with American and spaghetti Westerns. It also does enough things on its own to clearly set it apart as a Bollywood film.
I mean, obviously, the musical numbers and, would be the easiest, sort of go-to. But there was stuff in this movie that reminded me of Jackie Chan films. Not just the sort of borrowing from Western tropes, but the sort of the mixture of humor and action. There were moments where I was like, oh, this could be an Armor of God.
One of the things that the humor and action really reminded me of is, I mean, a lot of slapstick comedy, especially stuff from like the 20s and 30s. I mean, there's the Great Dictator reference, which would have been the 40s. But even like the first musical number of Jai and Veeru, when they're on the motorcycle, and then one of them is in the sidecar, and the sidecar goes off, and then he jumps on the bike, and then later the sidecar just magically comes back to them. That could be something out of like a Harold Lloyd movie, like that sort of visual humor.
Absolutely. Well, they do that. And in fact, the Marx Brothers do it in Duck Soup.
Oh, with the sidecar?
With the sidecar, there's a gag where
I gotta rewatch that.
Where Groucho gets on the motorcycle and Harpo gets in the sidecar, and Groucho can't quite start the motorcycle, but the sidecar goes off on its own with Harpo.
You're fucking right. That's coming back to me now.
So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to connect those dots.
Well, and that's the thing about Bollywood film is that it doesn't exist in a vacuum. So they're seeing all these other film types, film styles, film references, and going, how can we incorporate this into our film? And, you might call me crazy. You might call me, I don't know what you would call me. I genuinely think that Bollywood cinema is the most exciting cinema on the planet because they're doing things with genres and storytelling that so many other filmmakers, especially Western filmmakers, can't do. I mean, tell me a Western that has musical acts, characters getting dismembered, slapstick comedy. I mean, that just does not exist in Western cinema. And we kind of always have this conversation about how it's hard to mix genres. You mix a horror movie with a comedy. Is the comedy gonna, overpower the horror, or are they gonna balance? Is it a horror comedy or is it a comedy horror movie? And Indian films, Bollywood films, have essentially said, you know what? We're making our own thing. We're making a Bollywood film, a masala film, and this film is gonna have everything.
That's one of the things I actually thought this movie did very successfully, at least in my eyes, was sort of the tonal shifts from scene to scene. As, the musical numbers just are so joyous and they're so much fun. They're very flirtatious. And then you have the scenes, on like the raids on the train. Those are really action-packed and tense, and there's great editing and cutting going on. And then, like, the moment when Thakur, the warden, comes back and finds his family murdered, I thought that was just chilling. And, it was a very different style. There wasn't much sound, there wasn't much dialogue, the shots were really long, and they were able just to, scene to scene, we're going to give a new feeling, and they kept nailing it for me.
It made me a little bit sad because so much of Western filmmaking, and I think it's gotten more so, is so focused on nailing one particular tone. And it's almost like I can compare it to a restaurant where it's like, okay, so this is going to be the French restaurant. And it would be weird at a French restaurant to we also serve, whatever, chow mein. But But what the Bollywood film is like a buffet. It's like, well, you can have anything. We've got sushi next to waffles, next to prime rib, next to crab, next to pasta, and it's like, oh, well, that's fun. If you're doing like 9 different things, it's
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
actually more acceptable than just trying to mix 2 and getting it wrong.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it is. And then you also have them tackling like some interesting topics. I mean, even though they did end up changing the finale of the film, which we will talk about more in depth when we get to it, they do talk about, violence and not glorifying violence and not giving into violence. And like you mentioned, Cullen, with the initial musical number of the film, there is, I wouldn't say it's homosexual, but it's talking about, a strong male friendship, which, again, I would challenge American cinema in 1975 to be talking about this in a way that's not derogatory. Obviously,
I didn't find it sexual between the two. I thought they were just great friends.
Right, yeah.
And I loved it. The song's so fun.
I believe it's referred to as homosocial.
It's sort of, yeah. Well, yes, probably more than homoerotic. But what it does is it takes the subtext of all the Western buddy films and brings it a little more forward, not in terms of a homosexual attraction, but just in terms of these are people who are friends who love each other. And let's just go ahead and put the emotion out front. And somehow that is totally, it's so weird because you get it. You watch this movie and you're like, I totally get it. This is the major relationship in the lives of these two people, is that whatever this partnership is and this devotion to each other and this sort of, I've got your back, you've got my back, to the nth degree.
My successes are your successes, my failures are your failures.
Right. And this whole flipping of the coin that we sort of base our entire relationship on, and the one guy discovers, oh, this was all based on that guy trying to protect me, or at least using it in key moments to protect me. And that's so appealing.
The song also, the first song also foreshadows the very end of the movie, because I think the end of the song they say, you win, I win, you lose, I lose. And then that's the irony of the big reveal about the coin. Look, watching it a second time, I was impressed by the amount of foreshadowing that there'd be little clues in the songs here or there that maybe I was just naive enough watching it. I didn't catch them on the first viewing, and second time I really enjoyed seeing the structure of the film.
Did anyone else feel like the death of Amitabh's Jai was an unnecessary character death in the film?
I thought it was. I didn't know how it was going to end because I don't know Bollywood conventions in terms of what characters live or die, but I could see it coming that, both of them might not live.
I totally bought it. The language of the film seemed to be that it was, in terms of their story, a story of an adolescent maturing into an adult, letting go of the childhood friendship, and then embracing the sort of the marriage relationship. So for me, I was sort of like, yeah, it was sad, but I'm like, oh, I get what they're doing here. This character has grown up. They have moved on from the reckless youth of their life, and now they're moving on to the marriage part and the family part, and the the part that the warden represents, and hopefully a successful version of it.
I agree, and I think it also makes sense that it's Jai being the one who makes the sacrifice and winds up dying, because I think he had been, more of the dominant one. He seemed to be a little bit more in control of things throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
I guess my issue with it more stems from the character of Radha, Thakur's daughter-in-law, who they tried to set up a relationship between her and Jai, and I never bought it. It feels like, if you look at that as the kind of like the map work of the story, if that character's relationship with his female love interest is given no time, then of course he's the one who's going to die. They're not going to kill off the character who's been given all the screen time with the other female lead.
She's a widow. Like, I don't know the cultural, surroundings of what that means, and in courtship, like, that's something that I'm unaware of. So there seemed to be some sort of broaching, talking to other people about, like, oh, is this okay? How do we do this? A lot of it seemed to be unspoken. So maybe, audiences at the time and today would, over there would understand it more than I would.
I think you're right on. I think for me, she was the angel of death. She was the woman in white. If there was, in a certain way, she was a kind of foreshadowing. That always seemed like a far more ethereal and possibly doomed attraction than the more earthy relationship shared by the other two. So even that made sense to me.
I also loved him serenading her with. Serenading her with the harmonica, sort of borrowing the Charles Bronson motif from Once Upon a Time in the West. I'm just a sucker for those references. I kept seeing like bits of some of my favorite movies pop up in unexpected ways, and it just kept making me happy. This movie made me really happy in general.
I mean, again, aside from the fact that half of the film's main character, set dies, I think it's a fairly optimistic and lighthearted film. Aside from the fact that a guy gets his arms chopped off about halfway through it and his family gets murdered. I mean, that's what's so great about Bollywood cinema, is you have a musical number, and then 20 minutes later you have, one of the other main characters of the film getting dismembered. I mean, it's so vibrant. And you know what? Again, as someone who's been to the country, I get it. It's there. It's not even hard to see. It makes perfect sense.
Chris, having watched The Devils, that I'm no fan of subtlety. Or I am, but I also like, when things go, way, way over into the red zone. And so much of this tonally did in every possible direction. So the fact that you move from a musical number to a guy getting his arms chopped off, I'm fully on board.
I was just going to interject quickly. Speaking of love interests in the movie, both of those couples, as my girlfriend pointed out to me, wound up marrying eventually in real life.
Look at that! It brings people together too.
And many of them wound up in Parliament and doing politics.
Also, that's a thing. Yeah, Amitabh and Dharmendra both were in politics, right?
Yep. And Basanti was, I'm pretty sure, the woman who played her. I loved her character and her horse, Dono. MVP of the movie. I loved Dono whenever he was on camera. Such a cool horse.
I like Hema Malini as Basanti. I think for me, she's one of my favorite parts of the movie because her character feels like she walked in from another movie, but is perfectly at home in this film. Because
she's hilarious.
Exactly. And like...
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters, and Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Not to say that Veeru and Jai aren't, but she brings a much-needed comedic lift to the film when it needs it. And then she's obviously, put in one of the more kind of stressful and tension-filled scenes at the end where she's dancing for Veeru's life in front of Gabbar Singh.
And then they do a scene that was then basically recreated in Die Hard.
Which scene? It's been a while since I've seen Die Hard. Please remind me.
When she's forced to dance on broken glass in her bare feet.
It's a little bit
that happens in Die Hard?
Everything either comes from or it feeds into Die Hard.
Okay.
There was no teddy bear in this movie though, Richard. I'd like to point that out. You must not have written this one.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Going back to Takar not delivering the killing blow to Gabbar, I was frustrated by that. I was looking forward to some really bloody justice. And so I get why they did it, and there's also a trope of don't let the enemy remake you in its own image by reducing you to a savage killer. But considering this movie sort of broke down walls in every other direction, I wish they had they just gone ahead and murdered him.
I would have been happy with either ending. I think I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think they could have gone for it, and it sounds like they tried to go for it, and that's what they wanted. I was perfectly happy with this ending. It made sense with the beginning, on the train, the speech that he's giving to to Jai and Veeru, where he's talking, about, he's in law because he wants to protect good and law and order. So it made sense for me, in terms of the character, but I would have been happy with anything. I would have been happy with more Dano. We never really see what happens to the horse.
We never really get the end of the
horse. What's the horse up to at the finale? Longer. I will agree. I think I'm in your camp, Cullen. I think for me the ending really could have hit either note. I will say, knowing that the ending that was originally the director's cut of the film, the original version, as the director intended it, has Thakur killing Gabbar, I can't help but feel like I would like to see that ending with the director's cut of the film. Because, while to your point, Cullen, yes, he does kind of have this, Thakur has the speech at the beginning about how he needs to be the upstanding citizen, and that's why he's part of the police. At the same time, like you said, Richard, it is just kind of going for it otherwise. I mean, you have characters having their arms cut off, family and children being just slain, which, by the way, those scenes were cut down too, obviously, if you couldn't tell. But, yeah, I would have liked to have seen Thakur get some comeuppance because, man, when those cops show up, my response was, what the fuck? Like, where did these fucking guys come from? It's like they were the textbook example of Deus Ex Machina. Like, they literally showed up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, they were the narrative cock block.
I was shocked because I was like, okay, he's got his foot up, and here we go. He's going to stomp on him, and that'll be it. Again, you have Amitabh's character dying not but 10 minutes earlier, and then it's like, no, the cops show up. And it's like, where were these guys? Where were these guys the whole time?
Speaking of that, where did the band go? Gabbar's band. That just like plays for his bandits at night.
Yeah, I guess they just left or got away.
I mean, maybe they got a better gig.
Yeah, I know. It's
musicians got to eat.
I mean, the issue with the end of the film, the censorship notwithstanding, Amitabh's character's death, it feels too drawn out for its own good. It's just, it felt a little drawn out. Like, it was trying to stall for time. And I was like, we know he's gonna die, so don't just have this tension-filled scene that doesn't seem to really hit the nail on the head some of the other tension-filled scenes in the movie do.
I mean, I'll disagree. I loved, him behind the rock, running out of bullets. I love the little moment when he sees the board, sort of sink so he knows someone's underneath. Him going for the dynamite, the rolling across. I was in it, all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, for killing the character, they did earn it. It wasn't just a stray bullet and suddenly he's dead. I mean, that guy died in pieces over an excruciatingly long
He died 5
battle.
times over. He died like 5 separate times. I mean, and that for me is the issue. It's just like you don't have to draw it out to make it impactful. Because like his character dying is going to be impactful on the characters anyways, because I mean, he's the main character. He's the one half of the duo that's been driving this film.
Chris, have you seen The American Soldier?
I have not.
Chris, when you're talking about a drawn-out death, there's a hilariously, absurdly drawn-out death at the end of that movie. And when I saw it in a theater, people just like got up and walked out because it's just absurd. I thought it's funny as hell. I could have sat there for several more minutes. You might not like the end of that movie, so just a heads up. Maybe you would like it. I don't know.
I mean, again, I have no problem with sad endings in movies. That's not the issue. It's just
no. This has nothing to do with sadness. This is just literally drawn out, slow motion. Okay. I mean, it's Fassbender making a joke.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Again, after having seen The Devils, a drawn-out death.
That's fair.
Takes on a whole different meaning.
That's fair. Yeah. And The Devils, that's like a half an hour of the fucking movie. It's just a half an hour of the movie is Oliver Reed being tortured mercilessly. So, to be fair, you're not wrong. I will say, though, as much as I like Dharmendra, as much as I like Amitabh, Amjad Khan as Gabbar Singh steals the show. And
Dude's got some style and mad vibes.
Yeah, he's the villain. He's the villain that everyone wishes they could write, and so few screenwriters get the opportunity and the chance to hit on that villain that one time. And that's the one chance, and they get it. And for this movie, they got it. And then, he's in the annals of Indian Bollywood film history as their equivalent of Darth Vader because of how well-known, how popular, how recognizable he is. Amjad Khan, from all accounts, essentially, for the rest of his life, people would come up to him and be like, do a line from Sholay, and he would do it, and then he would do that laugh that he has. And it's like, people knew him for this one role for the rest of his life.
I mean, it's a killer role, and I love that defining moment early on when he has the 3 bandits that screwed up, and he takes the gun, fires 3 shots in the air, and does Russian roulette, and then the look on his face as he keeps clicking empty is just priceless because he's like trying to be badass and he's like doing this performance for everyone, and he keeps surprising himself that there's no fucking bullets, and then I did not expect him to turn around and, fire the rest of the gun. So I thought that was a very effective scene.
I mean, I think it's my favorite scene in the movie because it has that tension. You have the characters, his kind of like his little right hand men sitting there and like laughing, and being like ha 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 ha, is something gonna happen? And then he turns around and fans the hammer and kills all 3 of them real quick. And it's like it's mashing the sensibilities of a Western with this rich Bollywood film tradition, and it really works. And it feels perfect for the time and the place that it's in, and I have to applaud it for that. Because, yeah, I mean, he's not dressed like... He's kind of dressed like a villain in a Western, but his mannerisms and the way he talks and the way he acts, it feels like he's been pulled out of Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
I think it's my favorite scene in the movie. It's so good, and it hits the notes that you want to hit for a scene where it's the introduction to your villain. I mean, to your point, Cullen, I mean, you don't even see him to begin with. You see his shoes, and you see him carrying that ammo belt and whacking it on the rocks. And it's just like, oh, here we go. Something is about to happen.
You know what we haven't talked about yet? The final fight. Or did I just...
with the kicking,
with the Kerr with no arms, just like literally kicks his ass. That was fucking gonzo.
I mean,
that's like something out of like a Corbucci movie.
Richard, is that what you were kind of getting at with Jackie Chan movies? Because it felt very slapstick martial arts.
No, I mean, some of the over the topness and more of the train sequence because for me, Jackie Chan is there's always sort of these like really big stunts. Like I think of him in terms of stunts almost more than fights, even though his fight sequences are often choreographed like a slapstick comedy. But honestly, I was watching those guys get shot and fly off their horses into the water, and I kept thinking, those guys are dead. Like. And often when I'm watching Jackie Chan movies, I'm like, how many of these people just actually died? like that's not possible.
I agreed. I was really impressed by the choreography and stunt work in this movie. The as you point out, the dudes and the horses. I also really loved the when Jai and Veeru go to the camp and they meet the villagers for the first time, and then they've arranged an ambush to sort of prove themselves, and all of the fight moves are perfectly synchronized between the two of them. It's like mirror images. I thought that was really clever, really well executed, and really funny.
And dudes are being kicked out of windows with wanted abandoned. Yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, to your point, Cullen, yeah, I mean, there's a point where I think it's Veeru like does that stereotypical move where he grabs the joist of the building and swings on it and kicks a guy, just flies out the window. Just he's gone, and you're just like, man, it really does hit on and have everything. I mean, think if I the way I think about it is if I were watching Once Upon a Time in the West and all of a sudden Henry Fonda's character does what Gabbar Singh does in this film, or Charles Bronson's character does what Jai or Veeru do in this film, nobody would believe it. But in this film, it feels perfect. I don't question it. I don't question the dance scene, the musical number during Holy. I don't question the dance number at the end. I don't question the musical number at the beginning. And that's something I have noticed in some Bollywood films. And you could even, level that against something like modern, contemporary films that insert music when they're not a technical musical, like, say, something like a Disney animated film. But it doesn't feel like unnecessary, and it doesn't feel out of place. Because some of these Bollywood films that I've seen, the music and the musical numbers feel very just like tacked on or shoehorned in.
No, I agree. They fit. They're well done. Especially the Holy number. There's a huge cast of extras. Like everybody, is doing something. The screen is just filled. You can't even count everyone. That's really impressive choreography. That's like MGM in their prime level.
Yeah. And again, as Westerners, we maybe don't have a lot of reference points, but these Bollywood actors, some of them were in upwards of 700 or 800 films. I mean, I was reading an article today about James Fong, the gentleman who plays the villain in Big Trouble in Little China. He's been in 500 movies. And CNN was falling all over themselves. And look, he's a fantastic actor. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anyone's going to question that. But when some of your actors have been in 700 or 800 films, that to me is like, some actors don't even crack 50 in their entire career.
Yeah.
That is insanely impressive.
Right? I mean, I can't even fathom being in 700 movies, regardless of the amount of time you're in the movie.
I don't know how Bollywood works, but there was a point in America where, if you look at the early Abbott and Costello movies, they were making four movies a year. They were cranking them out. And they're, it is possible to have an industry that just does that runs in that way, where it's just constant production, and not every last thing is looked at as a curated product that must be, sent to the, cinema ICU for 2.5 years. You just pump them out. I mean, if you ever read anything about The Wizard of Oz and you realize how assembly line that way. There were 4 directors on that movie. They were just, get in there, shoot the thing, do the thing, get it, crank it out. And we look at it like this auteur creation. And it just isn't, because that wasn't the way movies were made then. And maybe that's the way Bollywood has always worked.
This reminds me of, do y'all know James Reasoner? He's a fabulous novelist. I think he's done over 300 novels. He's a professional. He sits down and writes 8 hours a day. He outlines, but, he can deliver a novel in a few weeks and moves on to the next one. And he's just had it's incredible, work ethic, but yeah, he just all the time. And he's a very talented writer. So
it's like Louis L'Amour or something like that. And I don't know if the skill level is the same, but it's like, whoa, it's just every 2 weeks it feels like.
I don't know L'Amour's work very well. Reasoner, his quality of everything I've read is very high, and he still finds time to blog and read about all the other books he reads. He would be the one to ask about L'Amour, because his knowledge of pulp and paperback writers is just, he's a walking history book.
But we just don't see that kind of prolific screen presence in American cinema the way Bollywood films do.
No, we don't.
Amitabh Bachchan has been in over 200 films, and he's still a working actor. And he's 77. That's nuts, right? We don't have any analog.
So the closest thing I can think of is, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to pull out the Blu-ray because I was just watching it the other day. It's called, She Should Have Said No. It was one of the PRC, exploitation films from the 40s. Sam Newfield was the director, and he did over 200 movies. Jack Greenlaw was the cinematographer, and he did over 200. And they did over 100 films together. And their careers was basically 30s and 40s. But yeah, I don't think that type of career exists anymore. Richard, as you pointed out, that industry just doesn't exist in this country in that way.
Yeah.
Well, you could go out every weekend and make a movie, but, is it going to be the quality of, what the expectation is, right? Because quantity versus quality is always the question when it comes to someone's career, right? You could be Nicolas Cage and have made however many. You could even look at someone like Seagal. Realistically, it's kind of a weird sideways, but I would say Seagal is the most prolific action star if you look at the amount of films in his catalog. He's made over 41 movies.
I would say look at actors like Samuel Jackson or Michael Caine, who have been in some of the best movies you've ever seen and some of the worst movies you've ever seen. And it's and they're fairly mainstream. They all genres, kind of up and down the line. And those guys are clearly just yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. Let's see. Let's roll the dice.
Michael Caine rolled the dice with On Deadly Ground.
He did. He also rolled the dice on Jaws 3?
That is amazing.
Jaws 4, excuse
me. I totally forgot. Yeah, can you imagine Michael Caine at that point in his career all right, Seagal movie, where are they filming it? I've never been there. All right, let's do it. No, it kind of gets back to the whole Bollywood thing. The word is joy. And when you can approach your career in that way, like Michael Caine does, just like, he's just so grateful not to have been killed in the Korean War, basically, that everything after that has been a gift, and he's enjoyed the hell out of it. And there's oddly, I will connect that with the feeling of watching this movie, which was just like, we're not going to worry about what genres we're mixing or what tones are set against each other from one scene to the next. We're going to, whatever the scene is, we're going to lean into it and deliver the comedy, and then we're going to deliver the melodrama, and then we're going to deliver the action, and they do. And somehow it all works. The actors are into it, and it's extremely
And then you
enjoyable.
also have a villain who ends up becoming like the villain that so many other Bollywood films tried to emulate and try to do the same thing, and they just can't figure out how to hit the same nail on the head.
Richard, I think you summed up something about a quality about the movie very, very, very well. And one of the things that I keep thinking about is, for the spectacle that they are delivering in this movie, at this point we're now 45 years later, it still is a spectacle. Like when at the beginning when they're on the train and the bandits, are attacking them, they get covered in petrol, and then one of the either Veeru or Jai opens up the engine, sticks in the shovel, gets the coal, and you're just like, oh, you're gonna do it. You're gonna fucking throw that stuff and light those guys on fire. And you're waiting, and yeah, he does it. He throws the coal, and there's a huge explosion. There have been, like, bigger CGI explosions since, but just watching that explosion and that, like, anticipation and how cool, the coal and the oil, just, like, the mathematics of that. That's badass. That is fun.
Boy, in 2007, there was a adaptation of Sholay that was directed by Ram Gopal Varma called Aag, otherwise known as Ram Gopal Varma Ki Aag, which was Ram Gopal Varma's Aag, AAG, and it features Amitabh Bachchan playing the Gabbar Singh character.
Whoa. Have you seen that?
I've seen enough of it to know it's not very good.
Oh.
And the funny thing is, they actually, in that film, because I watched the end of it because I wanted to see how close it was to this film. In that film, it's flipped, so the Veeru character dies, and then the Jai character in Aag kills the Gabbar Singh character in the movie and goes to jail. So it's like they tried to like flip it, but didn't flip it enough to be like so different that people were on board. I think the other thing that people had an issue with is it kind of sullied the memory and the nature of Sholay, because Amitabh has gone on record in saying that it was a mistake for him to make the film. Times of India said it destroyed Sholay, and it may be considered to be the worst film of all time. So, I mean, like I said, I watched enough of it to know it's not good, which wasn't much, because, yeah, it was bad. I would not search that out just so you could finish your kind of Sholay experience, because on top of everything else, the character of Surma Bhopali, the wood trader that Jai and Veeru turned themselves into, that actor, Jagdeep, he also did a spin-off of his character from the movie. So, like, everybody...
I thought his character was funny.
I liked his character. I'm not sure I'd want to watch a whole film of his character. But again, I mean, it's like, this is how big...
I mean, I'm not going to say no to it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's how big of a cultural touchstone this film was people were...
I heard they had cassettes of the dialogue that you could buy.
Do what?
I heard that they, like, manufactured cassettes of the dialogue from this movie, and people would just buy it to hear the lines. And that there was actually, like, almost like a talkback culture when you would see this.
I mean, again, this is how much this film permeated society. I mean, in 2000, the book Sholay, Making of a Classic came out. I believe it won Book of the Year from the film press. So, like, this...
Yeah.
This film is...
And it played for 5 years in a theater in India.
Yeah, like, that's insane. Like, that's... You don't hear about films like that in American culture playing for 5 years.
No.
It's again.
I know stuff on the drive-in circuit had very long theatrical lives. Like the swinging cheerleaders for years just went from drive-in to drive-in. But yeah, other than stuff like that,
or like Rocky Horror, but again, that doesn't count in the same way. I mean, this is not a cult classic.
It's going from place to place. This was one theater where it just stayed.
Yeah.
That I can't think of happening in the U.S. in a very, very long time, if at all.
And again, this has also become part of daily Indian life. I mean, people still use lines from the movie in daily life. They're pretty popular. They're meme culture in some respect. So it's, again, outside of maybe Star Wars or Marvel movies, I don't know, or I can't really think of an American film that has permeated daily culture and like pop culture as much as this film, Sholay, permeated Indian culture when it came out and still is, kind of influencing culture 45 years later. It's insane to me. And that's what makes the film great as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's just something about it. I mean, like you said, Richard, there seems to be very much a sense of joy behind the camera and in front of the camera, even when characters are being dismembered.
Well, it's made me want to see more Bollywood movies.
See?
So
And that's what I was going for here. I mean, look, when the first film we're doing for the month is the quintessential Bollywood movie, and none of us have seen it, that was my hope walking away from this, is that it's kind of interested y'all to take interest more in Bollywood and maybe take a look at it, and for the listener, because again, I don't know how many of my listeners are fans of Bollywood film. I know that I have a fairly large listenership in India, but I'm excited to hear y'all kind of going and tracking down some different Bollywood films and taking a look at them and maybe finding something that you guys like, because boy, there's all kinds of stuff. There's an Indian version of Friday the 13th. I believe there is an Indian version of Nightmare on Elm Street as well. And Jaws.
I want to start digging into the Mumbai Underground movies.
Again, for American audiences, Bollywood has always seemed like something that's like, Slumdog Millionaire is as close I'm ever going to get to watching it. And that's unfortunate, because Slumdog Millionaire is not a very good movie, and it is not a fucking Bollywood movie.
I didn't see it.
I wouldn't.
Don't really have. Cool.
It's just okay. It's an Oscar movie. And it's definitely not Danny Boyle's best work. That's for sure. Cullen, what would you give Sholay out of 5?
Oh, 5. If it can like push through, I would go 5 above. Like the top of the 5 is like it's pushing up, so it's like almost like a triangle because it's just more than 5.
What about you, Richard?
Definitely 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna give it a 5. I mean, again, it's just it hit every note in a way that I wanted it to, and yeah, I have a little bit of issues with it, but those issues do not weigh my enjoyment of the film down. And like we've said, for a 3-hour movie, it moves along at a pretty good speed too.
Yeah, that might be where the change of tone really is its greatest strength.
Yeah, because you're not kind of getting bogged down in one thing or another.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It does give you a lot of variety.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, if that's what you're looking for in a movie, a lot of these Bollywood films bring a lot of things and do a lot of different stuff and string it together and work it together into an interlocking puzzle. So, well, let's take a break and we'll talk about the next film for Bollywood August.
Hello world. நான் ஒரு ரோபோ. மனித உருவம் கொண்ட யந்திரம். Speed 1 terahertz. Memory 1 zettabyte. தந்தை மொழி தமிழ். எனக்கு உலகின் எல்லா மொழிகளும் தெரியும். எனக்கு ஏபி நெகட்டிவ் ரத்த வேணும். Very yummy. எல்லா கலைகளும் தெரியும்.
யாருக்கு என்ன வயசு இருக்கும்?
ஒரு நாள்
நக்கலா
இல்ல நிக்கல் போல்ட் எல்லாம் நிக்கலே பண்ணது.
டேய் நீரே பெரிய எவடா நீ?
மனுஷன் படிச்சதுலயே உருப்படியான ரெண்டே விஷயம். ஒன்னு நான், இன்னொன்னு நீ.
Hello, don't get any ideas. நான் என் வழியில போறேன், நீங்க உங்க வழி, தனி வழியில போங்க.
நான் கற்றது கடல் அளவு.
sweet.
கல்லாதது மனிதனின் பொய், பொறாமை, வஞ்சகம், துரோகம்.
All right, Vasigaran. I will surpass you.
உணர்வுகள் எனக்கு புரோகிராம் செய்யப்பட்டது. விளைவுகள் கற்பனைக்கு அப்பாற்பட்டது.
உன்னை உருவாக்கணும் தான். இதுக்கு பேர் தான் துரோகம். You can do this, Vashi. அதுக்கு பேர் தான் தியாகம்.
உனக்கு பிறப்பில்ல, இறப்பில்ல, பசி இல்ல, உயிரினத்திலே நீ சேர மாட்ட.
என்னை சரியாக பயன்படுத்தினால் நண்பன். தவறாக பயன்படுத்தினால்
Command mode activated.
யாராலையும் அழிக்க முடியாது.
சுருக்கமா சொன்னா he is an one man army. Get ready, folks.
That's right. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about Entheron, otherwise known in the States as Robo. It is the most expensive Bollywood film ever made, and it shows. It's all on the screen. It is an insane film. It is a mix of, let's see, The Terminator, The Matrix, Bicentennial Man, and a little bit of AI thrown in for good measure.
What?
And it's also 3 hours long, and it also has a bunch of musical numbers. And it stars one of Southern India's most profitable and well-known stars, Rajnikant. So it's... Oh, and there's a sequel to it, too. So it's insane. Yeah, if you've never seen it, definitely you should watch it. If you haven't had a chance to track it down, you totally should. I will be joined by Jess on that episode. We will be talking about the film. Until then, where can people find you, Cullen?
I am still at pulp-serenade.com.
What about you, Big Richard on the West Coast?
Well, apparently I'm going to spend the rest of my natural life working on season 3 of Titans. Whether or not we ever film it is a whole other question. But when I'm not sitting in my home furiously cranking out episodes and scripts for Titans, you can find me on Twitter at Richard Hatem.
And as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at You can follow me on Twitter at casualty_Chris. Culturecast.com is where you can find the podcast. Culturecast is also on Patreon at patreon.com/Culturecast. We're on iTunes and Google Play. Give us a good review on either of those sites, or don't. Either way, we're still going to keep making podcasts. Big thanks to Richard and Cullen for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next episode.